Hi there, my name's Kiralee and I'm Agent 27 at the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, and this is a very special new moon in Capricorn report for the Cosmic Intelligence Agency. So the new moon in Capricorn is happening on the 28th or the 29th of December 2016, depending where you are in the world, and it's happening at 7 degrees and 59 minutes of Capricorn, which is pretty much 8 degrees of Capricorn. So as always, I highly recommend you find out where 8 degrees of Capricorn is in your chart and see where you can expect a fresh new burst of energy in your life that picks up these generalized themes that I'm about to talk about in this video. So as usual, I'm going to quickly tell you the technical astrological jargon around what's happening and then move into what it all means. So first up, the Sun and the Moon conjunct in Capricorn are also conjunct Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. So yes, it's Mercury retrograde time if you haven't already heard, and that started on the 19th of December 2016 and will head out to the 7th of January 2017. Wow, it's the end of 2016. Woo, what a year! A very disciplined year to cope with the challenges that have been going on throughout the year. Hasn't been easy, has it? But hopefully you are feeling the rewards of the hard work of sticking at it and following through on all the challenges of this year. And now is like a really good time to put into action all the learning. So also the Sun and the Moon and Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, they're in a dance with Pluto in Capricorn. So the moon that moves very fast compared to the other planets is going to meet Pluto exactly 17 hours after the new moon is exact. So that sets a very strong tone for this new moon and kicks off the new moon month. Very sensitive, very deep, deeply felt. It's feelings, emotions. It's emotions coming up that, we weren't aware of, and processing those. And it's good because then the sun, our conscious mind, our conscious application, we shine the light on all of that stuff that's coming up. The sun comes closer and closer and closer till it meets the Pluto 9 days after the new moon. Also Mercury retrograde, when it was going direct, came within orb of Pluto in Capricorn. Then it went retrograde on the 19th of December, and then it's going back out, and then it'll come back in around the 26th of January, or come back into orb with Pluto and be exact on the 30th of January and then head off. So Mercury has already been in on the action with Pluto. Let me give you a little example of this. At the full moon 2 weeks ago, I did the full moon video. I put it out there on YouTube on the 12th of December, and I was talking about when Pluto and Mercury meet and how powerful that was at the full moon, and how it was going to lead to so much deception and so much hidden information coming up so that people could see it for the first time, but also that information being drowned in so much misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, so that it would be a very confusing time and a lot of dark energies, and a lot of things coming up that aren't pretty for people to witness and be aware of. And so one day after that report, the 13th of December, which was the full moon, that's when we heard about the ceasefire in Aleppo, which we should have been able to celebrate, but instead what it actually ignited was a furor of a propaganda war that happened in the airwaves, social media, and the media in general, which is ruled by Mercury. And so we're seeing a lot of journalists coming up from the shadows going, hello, are you ready to hear this yet? And people becoming more aware of just how much manipulation is going on in terms of communications and media. So that's what's already got ignited. And so Mercury is now moving out from that exact orb, but will come back. So yes, of course, there's more to all these stories, and we'll find out too. I'll speak more about it in this video about what's happening in our personal lives in this regard. Also, the ruler of this new moon in Capricorn is Saturn. Saturn's in Sagittarius, and Saturn is forming a trine to Uranus in Aries, and Saturn is also forming a square to Chiron in Pisces. So quite a bit of stress going on with that, and I want to talk about that because that square is going to be happening, well, it started in November and it's happening all the way out to March 2017. Then it comes back into effect in September 2017 till November 2017. So it's a big theme emerging around Saturn in Sag square Chiron in Pisces, and it's somewhat reminiscent of what we lived with all year, which was that Saturn square Neptune. That was real tough. And I observed myself in the year being very pro-Saturn in that square, like really pushing that people stay grounded and work with Saturn, and you know, not get taken away too much with fantasy and spiritual bypassing and stuff like that, and warned about, you know, delusion, self-delusion, and all this ancestral chaos and stuff like that. Whereas this time I'm just feeling it's time to look at it from the other angle, where Saturn can become too stuck, too rigid, too blocked in its ways, and really needs the help, the healing. Chiron in Pisces, the healing of the water element, you know, to ameliorate those strong, strict, overly done boundaries and regimes. So yeah, that's the theme coming up at this new moon in Capricorn. So where to begin with it all? Let's start with Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign that rules our goals, our plans, our ambitions. You know, it's how we want to show up in the world, what we want to do, what we want to make, what we want to create, what we want to found, what we want to ground in the world. Hopefully something that is of practical use, you know, something that we need to, you know, weigh up what's really going on. This is not a fantasy, this is reality. This is like, what do we actually need in this world, and how can I step up with my skills and my resources and offer those, or check in with myself where I have deficits in skills and resources, and go about the most logical, sensible, well-organized plan to get those resources together and build something of significance, something that's going to last, something that will outlast me, hopefully on a decent sort of, I was going to say grand level. It's not Jupiter, but it's like, it's not just about the self, Capricorn. It's like, I'm probably going to have to gather together quite a lot of people, build an organization, or be part of an organization that is very well organized and very well oiled, and we can move together as a unit to build something far greater than ourselves that will serve the society and last, will form a strong legacy. So Capricorn is serious, is grounded, it's building foundations, it's initiating work, it's doing the work, it's staying committed, it's being committed and staying committed, you know, to what it is we are doing. It requires discipline, structure, order. You know, sometimes it's just grueling. It's just hard work, and there's you know, it's basically you'll reap what you sow. There's no kind of luck here or special circumstances. It's like simply get out and do the work, and only then will you see the results, and stick at it. Capricorn, also ruled by Saturn, extends into our laws in society, you know, strict rules, strict disciplines, where we know that if we break codes or laws or rules, there will be consequences. Okay, so this is like serious, sober Saturnian universe. Jupiter, Mercury going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn means that it's a good time for us to go back over our goals, reassess our plans, you know, maybe go back and do the calculations again, maybe get together with people and go through and do a an audit on what's been going on, and check in on reality of how things are going, do the budgets, check out the conditions, test the foundations, all of that sort of thing. So yeah, that's a good thing to do during this Mercury retrograde. Okay, so another interesting thing coming up is, like I mentioned earlier, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn in Sagittarius. So this is the interesting time to also look at how we're showing up. It could be in our professional identity, or how we show up in the world, you know, in our work. And it's really important that in our work that we have good boundaries. We know exactly what it is we do, what it is we represent. Quite often with Capricorn, we're in hierarchical situations, and there's a definite system of rank, and each status, each place in the system has its own set of responsibilities, its own set of goals, its own standard of doing things, and its own conditions. We understand these things in the organisations we're in, or in the structures that we're in. I mean, it could be for you a family system or something like that. So we're examining at this point with the square coming in from Chiron in Pisces. It's like standing in this position, in this role, in this identity, with these limits around me, with these conditions around me, has possibly become too confining, too limiting, too restrictive. Possibly it is not in alignment with my Saturn in Sagittarius, my authenticity, you know. Possibly the work I've been doing to really connect with my truth, the spirit within, it's now somehow the way I'm showing up in the world isn't quite in alignment with this, the flame within, and I'm feeling stuck, I'm feeling blocked. Mercury retrograde, we could be experiencing communication issues, feeling blocked in our communication, a bit stuck, a bit repressed, and not really able to flow. Square to Pisces, not really able to flow and show what's truly here anymore. So we could be having a lot of revision coming up in terms of asking ourselves, who am I? And what is this identity? What are these limitations? What are those restrictions? I see the purpose they serve, but am I the right fit for this role anymore? Like maybe I was, and maybe now I'm not the right person. Maybe a lot of us are going to be getting woken up to the fact that this part I've been playing isn't necessarily aligned with my truth anymore, and I need to find a way to break down these boundaries. But in a way, I might find that that's easier said than done. Quite often what ends up happening, what starts as good boundaries and sensible ways to proceed and good professionalism, can end up becoming just like a mask, you know, or a defense system, a whole entire bodysuit, body armoring that's keeping us at a distance, you know, from others or from situations or from, you know, things we need to meet in our own life. You know, so in this masking or in this defense or in this armoring, We find that Pluto in Capricorn, this has become like an unconscious mechanism that we are now hiding from something or avoiding something, you know, or we can't properly grow within the strictures. We've ended up in some kind of self-imposed or maybe imposed from the outside prison. So this is the heaviness, this is the depth of stuff that we might encounter with the Pluto in Capricorn and the Sun and the Moon coming to meet and Mercury just going through. You know, it's such a big theme going on, particularly from the last full moon, between truth and lies. All year we're having this theme with Saturn in Sagittarius about getting real. Also with Saturn in Sag making the trine to Uranus in Aries. I won't go into the whole cosmic load of stuff going on at that end right now. But the theme for this trine, which is going to exist for most of the year, yoo-hoo, is that the truth will set you free. Yes. So we've done so much work on this theme all year, but we've got another year of Saturn in Sag to go to really put this into action of how can I stand in my truth, you know. And so right now at this time of the year, we're just like truth and being liberated are very important, and we're all being encouraged to liberate ourselves. And then at the same time we're starting to feel the strictures of like, this isn't quite right anymore, or this isn't quite authentic, and it's like starting to question ourselves. Put the sun's coming to meet Pluto, put our conscious mind into action to shine a light into our own shadow and be like, how am I failing myself? How am I not showing up in my truth? You know, what are my blind spots around who I am and how I present? If we're feeling like repressed in our communications or in our truth, that stuff will get communicated energetically and is likely to lead to some pretty strange situations as we're trying to connect with people, because the old ways just seem to not be really quite working, and getting kind of odd, possibly mixed feedback coming back from others, and starting to go, oh, what am I really communicating? So yeah, it's good to have a look at that and go, well, there's all the stuff I'm communicating consciously, but now let's do an audit on all the stuff I'm not communicating, and then imagine what that would be like if actually all that was being communicated, and think, maybe people are picking that up anyway. So, you know, once you start putting out mixed signals, your body will be communicating something, you're talking something else, all you're likely to get back is mixed signals, and that's how things can get really convoluted and messy. Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, so it's like, give yourself some latitude to have some of these experiences, and come back and check in on what might be happening for you at this level, and realize, you know, it's probably happening for a lot of people. So again, work with that square to Chiron in Pisces, but also the new moon in Capricorn is making a sweet sextile out to Neptune in Pisces, which is conjunct Mars in Pisces, which is conjunct the South Node. So of course, no matter how weird things get or convoluted, or you know, maybe there's misunderstandings or mixed signals or whatever, mixed feelings, all these things, or things coming up and not knowing quite how to handle all this material coming up, confusion, which is a good way of saying conflicted, internally conflicted, because that can make us confused. When all of that stuff's happening, remember to come back to that place of unconditional love for the self and for all situations. I spoke about this a lot in my last video at the full moon. Saturn in Sag 2 is really calling us to be in a place of self-acceptance, really embodied in self-acceptance, you know, and to be really conscious to love ourselves in all our interactions, like be really into loving ourselves, find the parts of ourselves we love the most and be that, and enjoy loving the self and being with others in that place and feeling a lot more secure and happy within ourselves. There's so much energy happening at the moment, particularly with planets in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, and all this Capricorn getting, energy being constellated at this time, is to sit with our insecurities, sit with our fears, and watch them come up, and go, oh, and watch the crazy stuff that comes up with it, the amount of stories that we tell ourselves that are in alignment with our insecurities, that are completely fabricated and made up, the amount of assumptions we are making about others or about situations or things happening in the world to come into alignment with our fears and insecurities is war. I look out there on the big screen at all the propaganda wars going on, and people are arguing in the trenches over what's truth and what's lies. And, for my Mercury Sagittarius brain, I can't even look at it. I'm just like, oh my God, have you talked to anyone lately? Like, who's got the truth? Who can see clearly? Who actually knows what's going on? When so many of us just seem to be so mired in just the stories that we tell ourselves to keep the illusion of life, that somehow we're not good enough, or we're not strong enough, or we don't have enough money, or we're not ready yet, or we don't have enough friends, or maybe they don't like us, So it's really good. Don't worry about fighting all the propaganda out there. Fight it in here. The Toltec 4 agreements, they always come in handy, A, be impeccable with your word, of course, as always, but B, don't take things personally. Go on, give yourself a break. Remember, it's Mercury retrograde and Capricorn and insecurities and chaos and misunderstandings and all of that sort of stuff. Don't make assumptions. Yes. And number 4, do your best. Just do your best to not take things personally. Do your best to not make assumptions, so we can dismantle the inner critic and keep coming back to self-love. Keep trying, and every time you fall down and have a hard one, or it's going hard for you, feel it. Allow yourself to feel it. Go down, cry, and realize that it's just like, it's like this for everyone, Nobody's immune from any of this. No one's having some great grand life that you're not having. Everyone's just having an experience of presence, or what's happening in the moment, and dealing as best with that as they can, to do the best to make sure that they are happy and well and thriving and at peace and centered. So it's just like, it helps open us up to compassion when we go down. Know that we're all going through that. So all this stuff is intermingling. Now for the last major point of this new moon talk, check this out. The new moon is making an easy opposition. It's a sextile out to Neptune in Pisces conjunct Mars in Pisces conjunct the South Node in Pisces, and then that's opposing the North Node in Virgo, which is making the trine to the new moon. Now check it out. Neptune in Pisces conjunct Mars in Pisces. This to me looks like the god Dionysus, the god of wine and ecstasy. Who'd have thought at Christmas and New Year that the god Dionysus has come to form a very supportive aspect to this new moon. So yeah, the god of ecstasy. So the word ecstasy comes from the Greek word ekstasis, which means to stand outside of. To stand outside of what? To stand outside ordinary reality. To stand outside one's ordinary identity, one's ordinary body, one's ordinary world, one's ordinary mind, And this is really important at this time. If we're feeling restricted, a bit overly bounded, a bit like, repressed, or like, I need to make changes, I really want to liberate myself, I really want to get to the truth, and be able to express that without all this all over me. maybe it's time to step outside of me, step outside of these boundaries. I'm going to become somebody else. I'm going to go to the party dressed as a unicorn, or as a, just step into another identity, another world, work with the technology for altered states, And for some, that's as easy as grabbing a bottle of wine and going, yay, this is for the god Dionysus, and enjoying wine and merriment and getting out of the ordinary, dropping the work, dropping all the tasks and enjoying friends and family at the holiday time. For other more, constant transpersonal practitioners, it could mean doing very specific rituals to change your state of consciousness. It could be ecstatic dance. It could be so many different things you could do to step outside the ordinary at this new moon, and I highly recommend that you do and get some perspective outside of the ordinary, perspective outside of the ordinary dimension of reality, So, and this works well with the Chiron square to Sag. I mean, it could work well if done well. Sometimes people just get blotto and smashed, and they might receive all the wisdom in the world and then wake up in a trench and not remember any of it. So that's, that's unconscious and it's unhelpful. And if that's how the square gets expressed, then so be it. But it's like, we're going to have this square on for a year, so hopefully we get a lot of opportunities to work consciously with ecstasy, states of ecstasy, and to get outside the normal bounded identity or bounded universe that we exist in. But anyway, the energy is all very positive for that at this new moon. Around Christmas and New Year's Eve time. So I'll round up there, and I'm always so glad that you listen to my videos and read my articles. And if you are interested in learning more, I am running Learn Astrology workshops here on Koh Phangan Island in Thailand, and I'm running a beginner's workshop, which there's two of them. There's beginners 1 and beginners 2, and the beginners 1 is a 1 week. Beginners 2 is another week, and they'll be on in January, they'll be on again in February, and they'll be on again in March. So you can come to my Purely Cosmic Space Priestess Facebook page to find out more details about that. And of course, if you're interested in an astrology reading, please get in contact with me. I'd be happy to make a time with you to do that on Skype. As well, if you would like to gift someone for, anything for Christmas, for New Year, for the holidays, for their birthday, with an astrology reading, you're welcome to do that as well. So, until next time, ciao for now.